Snowboard Kids is a racing game for the Nintendo 64, originally released in— Hold it! Didn't I already do a video on this game before? Let me just scroll down here a second. Yep, there it is. One of the very few videos where I didn't make some kind of meme out of the thumbnail. The only other being Snowboard Kids 2 of all things. So why am I returning to Snowboard Kids? I beat the game with the worst handling character and board combo I could think of. Or so I believed. In my first challenge, I played as Tommy, who has the best speed stat and the worst corner and trick stats in the game. Pairing him up with the level 1 Alpine board, which also has the same stats, made for a beautiful mess. Not only for Tommy's near inability to turn, but because the CPUs in this game rubber band like crazy, and seemingly cheat at every chance they get. This was a challenge run rooted in frustration, and my Nintendo 64 needing to be on at all times since I didn't have a game pack to save my data didn't necessarily help either. But my work here isn't quite done. There's one more challenge I can do in this game that's been in the back of my mind for a while now. When you purchase all the basic boards in the game, the ice board will become available for 1,000 gold coins. The description of the board is that it's a board that is useless. It's like the game wants you to buy this thing and try it out just to see how bad it really is. To put it this way, where Tommy and the Alpine board combo made it almost impossible to move, the ice board makes it so that you move way too much. But that's not just for Tommy, it's for everyone. You can easily turn 360 degrees with this thing, but good luck actually making a turn that you need to without hitting a wall, because once you pick a direction, you won't be getting out of it unless you make quick little movements. It's undoubtedly the worst board in the game, and I can only think of one young man to pair this board alongside. So let's see if you can beat Snowboard Kids only using Tommy and the ice board. The rules are the same as my previous challenge. I'm going to try and beat every course in the game only using this board and boy combo. If you haven't seen my first video on Snowboard Kids, I recommend pausing this video and checking it out before you continue. It'll provide some extra details about the game for you and show why Tommy is not everyone's first pick. It also saves me the trouble of having to repeat myself on certain things in the game that I've already explained. Though I did want to point out that I accidentally called jam slash in that video, one of the many little script mistakes I've made that haunts me. The first of the courses is Rookie Mountain, the beginner race that will show us what the ice board is all about. Oh. I just completely turned around. Yeah, that full 360 degree turn in the first lap is nothing but bad news. As I mentioned before, turning can kind of be done. You just have to make little taps on the joystick to help guide you, or you can use walls or slopes. Thanks to a rare fan pull while I was in first near the end of the fourth lap, I breezed to the end and completed Rookie Mountain in first place on my first try. In Big Snowman, I was off to a great start with a good jump. This course is fairly straight, so it doesn't call for a lot of maneuvering until you reach the trees. Oh dear. Oh dear. In the final lap, I hit a wall near that same area and recovered on the opposite side. This is where I learned that the ice board is not affected by board reverse. While racing, your character faces to the right, and if they move around or recover facing the left, you'll get the board reverse text on screen, and it'll slow you down until you adjust back to normal. Seems like this board isn't totally useless after all. While falling down wasn't in my best interest, I was prepared and packing snowmen, and there was another red box nearby that gave me parachutes. These helped me take care of Slash and Jam, and now all that left was Linda. I slowed her down with a ghost, but she managed to dodge all of my attacks. There was one thing I had that she didn't though, and that was a max speed stat. Wait. Oh, Tommy! Please. Please. Holy crap. For the second race in a row, Tommy stood triumphant and got another first try victory. Sunset Rock was a bit more treacherous, and had penguins, rocks, and a snowman shooting out attacks. You'd think that this would be a recipe for disaster with the ice board, but in actuality, I stayed in the lead for most of the race. The CPU item aggression was beginning to rear its ugly head, though it wasn't too bad yet. In the final lap, my momentum carried me into a wall and onto one of these big jagged rocks. While it cost me my lead, I quickly came back into second and delivered justice unto Jam for my third win in a row. Please be true. Please be true. The hand of justice was true. Oh, baby, baby. I didn't think this was going to be so easy. For a useless board, it was racking up near effortless wins. Maybe this challenge run isn't going to be so bad. Ah, see? I bet you thought I was setting up some kind of painful joke leading into Night Highway. Well, joke's on you, you dumb idiot. Okay, that was a double bait and switch. This course is actually excruciating. Night Highway is a literal counter to everything iceboard related. It begins with the second big jump here. If your positioning is off, you'll fall off the cliff more often than not, and if you somehow don't do it there, you will when you reach the open trail of destiny straight ahead. When you make it onto this thing, you gotta just stay on for as long as possible before you take the L. The respawn will usually set you up for a decent recovery. The rest of the race is smashing into walls and watching all the other snowboard kids have fun while you're checking to see if your medical insurance covers wall hits and pans that fall right out of the sky. Dude, as soon as I land, f*** off. Returning to this game, I knew well and good that the CPUs would eventually start to gain unfair advantages in their speed and the items they get, but mix all that in with a course that's unintentionally designed to work against you, and you've got yourself a big heapin' helping of good luck LMAO goulash. Not long after a plethora of attempts, I knew that I was gonna have to come up with a good strategy to pull off a win. Please! After a couple of hours worth of fighting for my life in this godforsaken highway, this is what I came up with. Near the start, there's a shortcut you can make if you bump into a wall before you pass by. The slowdown will be enough to make it through, and it's worth it because you'll typically gain the lead. Then there's the second drop, which is one of the most important things in the whole race. When dropping down, you have to angle yourself in a way where you won't fall off the edge. Then you'll have to quickly position yourself in a way to where you'll hit this shortcut that'll provide a safe passage away from the pits of doom. If you can manage all that, the rest will be up to huffing some hopium and getting decent items to aid you along for the rest of the race. Who am I kidding though? You better have a lifetime supply of that hopium. While the strategy was good, it just wasn't quite enough to combat the cheating CPUs. Any moment you're slightly ahead, they'll quickly conjure up a stew that makes you slow down in any way possible and force feed it to you. It appeared as though I'd be dusting off the old phone book and giving Lady Luck another call for this one. While I waited for her to get back to me, there were other things I did to help strengthen my strategy. The biggest one was turning your board with the walls you're about to hit. The ice board makes it so that walls are pretty much unavoidable. Hitting a wall will usually result in a little knockback and slowdown, or falling flat on your ass. But if you tilt yourself so that your board is angled almost perfectly with the wall, you won't take any hits and can keep on moving. Jumping right before you hit the wall will help preserve some of your speed too. That was basically all I could do to get through this with less pain. Even with these pro gamer strats, there was still a lot of luck needed to win. Snowboard Kids is just like that. And I'm sure Tommy's poor cornering didn't help much with this either. At this point, you're probably expecting me to show you the breakthrough moment where I realized some kind of crazy strat or wacky antics that led me to winning, and I will, but not before letting you all know that Night Highway took me 6 hours to complete. Yeah, 6 whole hours of pure suffering in one course. It's pure comedic gold how I went from 3 first try finishes in a row to this. I knew that was coming. I knew it was coming. Give me a bedpan. This doesn't matter. It's the last lap, you... Oh my god! The punchline to this joke is even better, because my winning run was pretty awful. In the first lap, I tripped on a rock and that moved me down to 4th. Then I was attacked right before getting on the lift, wasting more time. In the second lap, I missed both shortcuts, and fell off the icy narrow path twice. Then in the final lap, I got Snowboard Kids 2/3 of the way in, which you can obviously see was frustrating, but it actually was a blessing in disguise. At this point in time, I didn't consider that since I wasn't dead last, I would be guaranteed better items from the blue boxes. In my case, I got the Pandemic. And what made it even better was that everyone was close by when I used it, so I went from last to second fairly quickly. Then, a ghost to slow Linda down and a Hail Mary right before the end sealed the deal. That's the golden ticket, baby! Yes! Yes! Oh, man. Oh, we love to see it. Grass Valley provided a little bit of mercy. The mercy in question being walls and guardrails. Well, as long as you take the path on the right at the start. Grass Valley gives you a false sense of security in the first lap. The CPUs act like they've hardly snowboarded on grass before, and won't take too much of a lead. Then, when the second and third laps hit, they remove their training weights, and before you know it, they're too far ahead for anything to make a difference. There was a pretty clear shortcut near the bottom of the lift that can be taken. That is, if you're using any other character in board comp. combo. This probably would have worked with the fan activated, though I never bothered to try again. However, I did figure out a way to take another shortcut that appears earlier with this sign indicating the fork in the road. If you angle yourself just right on the slope here, you can slide into the shortcut with ease. While it was cool to be able to use this, it actually wasn't as helpful as it looked. You can use it in the first lap if you're behind, and it'll help you catch up. But this late in the game, especially when you're using the ice board, you kinda need to take advantage of every opportunity you can get to slow the others down. And since they won't take this path, it's really only beneficial if you have a fan or pan at the ready. Despite all this gloom and doom I'm spewing, Grass Valley was much more hopeful and promising than Night Highway. With enough practice, you'll clear second place most of the time, and as long as you don't let any one CPU get too far ahead, then victory can be achieved. Talk to the hand. Let's go, baby! I told ya. Wasn't that hard, just gotta wait for the right time. Once again, I gotta give it up for a low placement crazy item combo in the last lap. These kids didn't expect Tommy to whip out the fan and pan special. To compare one more time, this race only took about 2 hours for me to beat. It's still a long time to be in one course all things considered, but I'll take that over Night Highway any day of the week. Let's see where I'm off to next.
Holy fuck.
Disneyland. Oh, why did it have to be Disneyland? Whenever anyone brings up Snowboard Kids to me, I'm immediately reminded of the pain and turmoil this course caused me with the CPU's rubber banding and perfectly timed attacks. Guess it's time to saddle on up again. Straight away, we got issues. When you reach the waterfall segment of the track, you're just toast. Like in Night Highway's narrow trail, you just have to go as far as you can and accept defeat. The only way I got through this without falling off is with a fan, so if you got one, this area is the best time to use it. The teacups and dinosaur cave area weren't too hard to get through, and after I left those behind, I got hit with some nostalgia. Oh, the memories. Oh, they keep flooding back. Because of the ice board's movements, I was actually able to get through the water pretty easily, and that's all there was to it. Now, what I'm about to say may come as a shock to you. Disneyland with the ice board was not all that bad. Sure, falling into the water was annoying, and I hardly ever reached the shortcut in the dino cave, but it wasn't anywhere near as bad as the level 1 Alpine board. Alongside improved maneuverability, I formulated a new strategy to make this race even more tolerable. That was playing in 3rd and 4th place. Like I mentioned earlier, when you're in 3rd or 4th, your chances of getting useful items in blue boxes skyrocket. Fans, pans, ghosts, you're gonna need them all to get by. And you can't just use them willy-nilly. You gotta have more tact. Here's how a typical run usually worked for me when I got it down. At the start of the race, right after you jump down from the large slope, there's a blue box. You'll want to be in 4th or 3rd when you hit it. Like I said, you're likely to get a fan, pan, or ghost. A ghost you can probably use right away, but the pan and fan you'll want to save for the waterfall portion. There's another blue box shortly before you hit the entrance to the waterfalls, and you'll want to make sure that you're still in a lower position as you approach it. Right before you hit the blue box, use whatever item you have saved, and you'll immediately get another good item to use. In my case, I mostly got pans. Using them right before the waterfalls, then right after recovering from the drop, made it so the CPUs would never get too far ahead of me. There's 3 more blue boxes right after this. Before the teacups, at the end of the dino cave, which is kinda hard to reach with the ice board, then in the entrance to the running water. In a way, you basically have to take up the role of the annoying CPU who lays down attacks at all the perfect moments. So you can't try to rush and contend for first until the final lap. Doing this also keeps the CPUs from landing every attack under the sun on you, because in their mind, you're behind them, so what do they care? What they don't realize is that you're plotting a plan to keep everyone bunched up until the final lap. This is also going to be the standard going forward. You can never let anyone get too far ahead, or else the run is over. 2 more of my precious hours were cast aside while I perfected my craft. On one final lap, I hit almost every item I needed. First it was pans by the waterfall, and more right after, fresh out of the dishwasher. From there, I sent Jam on an airborne trip to Loserville, and right as I was about to make my sweet escape... Oh, you bitch! I guess it wouldn't be Disneyland without one of these moments. Jam managed to skip past me while moving through the roaring waters, but what he didn't expect was a desperate attempt to knock his lights out for good before crossing the finish line. Oh! No way! No! I gotta say, it was nice knowing that I was able to get through one of the tracks that gave me so much trouble in such a shortish amount of time, if you consider 2 hours short. I mean, I dedicated a whole little montage to this level in my first video, so you know that means it's a tough one. Well, not this time. Smell you later, Disneyland. Only 3 courses left to go. I don't remember Quicksand Valley being that hard. Maybe this will be I was not mentally or physically prepared for this ass whooping. It's not enough that I have to endure another near mandatory out of bounds moment in every lap, but look at what can happen if you leave first place alone for too long. Like, it was never this bad in any other race, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. If first place is this far ahead, it's game over. So aside from the CPUs injecting the serum of speed and good fortune into their veins, let's address all the other issues here. Well, actually, it's really just one, and that's turning with the moving sand. It's actually so bad that it makes this race nearly unplayable with the ice board. But now wait a second, I fell down plenty of times in the other races and didn't deem them that bad. What makes this so different? Well, in those races, Slash wasn't halfway to Sheboygan by the time you actually crossed the damn thing. If I couldn't cross this safely, there may actually be no hope for this race. Thankfully, after many tries and painstakingly playing through this desert hellhole, I found a few ways. One is the fan. That'll get you by, no problems. But you won't always have one on hand. The other option is to slow down and hit a wall right before you start to cross. If you do this and angle your board to the top right, you can jump your way closer to the wall so the sand won't push you off. This isn't as easy as it sounds. If you try this and are being moved too much in the opposite direction, or if you move too far to the right, Tommy will just look the other way and make a leap of faith. The time it takes to do all this is almost equivalent to just falling off and safely respawning in the middle of the path anyway, so it's not all that effective. Even if by some chance the stars align and you get fans as you need them to make the pilgrimage, you still gotta watch out for Nancy and Slash, but mostly Slash. He more or less serves as the rival in this race, and is relentless with attacks. For a good couple hours, I formulated a plan where I'd continue to lay low, and if at any point I got a fan, I'd save it to use when I needed to. Essentially, I was just banking mostly on luck, and I got close a few times, which made me feel like this was the way to go about it. But as each hour passed, every fall, hit from a pan, and frame-perfect attacks made me start to lose hope. I spent 2 whole streams trying to break through on this race, and nothing I did was working. So after 2 long days of disappointment, I took to YouTube in search of guidance to see if anyone else had completed this course with the ice board, and there were only 3 uploads I found. None of them used Tommy, but everyone played fairly similarly. Well, everyone except for one player. Mick Gina, and I really hope I pronounced that right, did something that the other 2 didn't. That was taking the path on the right instead of the left that's midway through the course. The right path is shorter, and I've taken it a few times before, but it's much more narrow, and if you fail to cross, you're looking at 2, maybe 3 drops down. Because of that, I believe the risk wasn't quite worth the reward. But after seeing McGina succeed, I began thinking to myself, what if I'm just an idiot and it was worth it? So after a good night's rest, I began to practice taking the right path and saving all my fans for it in future runs. I found that if you activate the fan while up near this corner by the fence and immediately turn right, you can cross the sands every single time. It's amazing what you can accomplish with a little rest and thinking outside the box. While I still hadn't won yet, I was closer now than I ever was before. Another pan and fan combo in the final lap on a decent run could be the only thing I need to keep the dream alive. I'm the fucking best! You guys have no idea how amazing I felt after crossing that finish line. 10 hours in this race is what it took for me to get to this point. And look, I've got a speedrunning background, so I'm no stranger to resetting and playing through the same levels over and over again. But this was a whole different kind of grind. Even though I played my heart out and gave it everything I had, it still took a little luck to clutch this out. Kinda crazy that that's what it takes sometimes. But if you work at it hard enough and never give up, your time, just like mine did, will eventually come. Even though it was a time of celebration, celebration, I couldn't get too comfortable just yet. 2 more races stood in my way, and Silver Mountain would be the next to fall. This course is a bit special because there's nothing all that special about it. There's no shortcuts, a few hazards that are easy to avoid, just kinda plain. That, unfortunately, also makes this course a force to be reckoned with. And it's all because of this point near the end where the ice board slows down significantly on a short, flat path. It's another almost entirely luck-based race. If you don't have some good items when you hit this area, you already know what that means. Now, on the plus side, the CPUs will stick around you more often than not. I think that's partially due to all the boxes laying around here. Seems like they're closer together than usual, but maybe that's just me. The progression in this race was not like any of the others. There were nearly no revelations or things I could do to make this easier. I did occasionally do a move where you hold down A for a few seconds, and after releasing it, you'll make a quick leap forward. But since Tommy is already fast, there weren't a lot of opportunities to use it properly. All my hope was left in the uncertain hands of big items, and the hopes that the CPUs would have a little mercy on me. I'm sure you can guess how well that went. Of course. Ooh, dodge. Can I ever have anything? Yeah, not so great. It's a good thing that this race eventually finds its happy ending. Woo! There we go. Oh man. All that was left now was Ninja Land, the 9th and final course that pits us up against the cheapest character in the game, Shinobin. Not only is Shinobin's speed just unspeakably broken, he also has the power of almost always having invincibility on hand. He's like that one guy who throws up the peace sign in a bad situation and disappears at will. Oh, and since this course is so short, they make you endure 9 laps of this buffoonery. As far as getting through the course with the ice board, it's fine. I mean, getting to the lift is a little annoying because you have to use the walls to bounce you in the right direction, and even if you do get there normally, there'll be pileups like you wouldn't believe. But it's not the worst I've gone through. The real meat here is just how unapologetically cheap the CPUs are. Well, not Nancy. I gotta give her props because she's just happy to be here. But Slash and Shinobin are a couple of rascals, constantly scheming their way into first. You will be heavily reliant on Ghost and fans for this race. Shinobin will usually block pans, so ghosts are your best means of attack. Now you can hit him with items, but you have to catch him at the right moment where he burns through his invincibility. As for the fans, they'll be the only other way you can keep up with Sonic and Shadow over here. If you don't have a fan ready by the time you hit the 8th or 9th lap, your chances of success are slim to none. Typically, the objective of this race is to slow Shinobin down at all costs, and then everything should fall into place. But once Shinobin is taking a backseat, Slash unleashes his godlike powers, and takes his place as the role of the main antagonist. Quick attacks, seemingly infinite invincibility, and everything in between. 9 laps, each almost the same as the last. You know, when I decided to pick this game back up, I thought to myself, this shouldn't be all that bad. I'll get some silly CPU moments and funny clips here and there, and have this thing beaten with a video out in a week tops. I couldn't have been more wrong. The ice board turned out to be one of the toughest challenges I've ever done. Lately, I've been so used to runs taking roughly around 6 to 10 hours, but just to get to the final track in Snowboard Kids with Tommy and the ice board took me 25 hours. That's more than Revolt, more than Mickey Speedway USA, F-Zero, Custom Robo, longer than any challenge I've ever done, and it still wasn't finished. I had a lot of time to reflect on everything I had done up to this point as I continuously got pummeled by the CPUs over the next few days. 2025 had been full of challenges, both in-game and out. I manned the helm and completed so many games with bad characters, sharpened my video editing skills, grew as a creator and gained over 10,000 subscribers in less than a year. I got to live a dream that I never thought possible. And as I looked back on those experiences, I found the motivation to keep trying, even if it was nearly a crapshoot of luck to reach the end. I had to see this through, and not just for myself, but for all of you who helped me get to where I am today. On my 3rd day of attempts, I went live a little earlier than usual, expecting another full day of playing through Ninja Land, so I wanted to get in as many tries as I could and not waste any time. After a few tries, I entered the 8th lap in a race where I found myself in 2nd place with a fan. If I could use it to catch up to Shinobin and get one more fan in the final lap, I just might have a shot. Gonna be honest, I'm surprised I didn't get a noise complaint with that scream, but I couldn't help it. It was the sweet release of frustration and determination that was boiling in me over the last 32 hours. I don't know what came over me in that final lap. Getting the fans were extremely lucky, but this dodge was the real MVP. Dodging attacks in this game is already pretty hard, and I have no idea how I pulled that off. But now, Ninja Land was finally behind me, and with that, I proved that you can beat Snowboard kids only using Tommy and the ice board. Thank you all so much for watching. Whether you're tuning in for the first time or have been with me since I got behind the wheel with Crunch and Diddy Kong Racing, I want to truly thank all of you for giving me this small platform to do these silly challenges. Picking up new games, discovering what they have to offer, for better or worse, has been some of the most fun I've ever had. Not many people get to have the privilege of saying that they're a funny internet guy with a speck of clout, and I will never take that for granted. As for the challenge itself, honestly, the ice board. There aren't many games I've played that are so uniquely designed to punish you at every turn, and I put myself through even more punishment just to race with a slab of ice that can hardly move around. Though I think it's the specific combo that makes it so bad. There are others out there who have taken the ice board to a whole new level. Like, did you know that someone has beaten the whole game using the ice board and didn't reset a single race? Now granted, Tommy isn't used at all in this playthrough, but it's an insane run that you need to watch. This challenge not only marks the end of content I'll be making for the first Snowboard Kids game, but it's also the last challenge I'll be releasing in 2025. Seems very fitting that it ended up being one of the hardest I've ever done. But when you think about it, it's also kind of beautiful too. There's still plenty of fun to be had in 2026 though, and I hope you all will continue to join me in the adventures to come. Be sure to hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. Also, I stream all of my challenge runs live on my Twitch channel and here on YouTube. If you'd like to check that out, be sure to subscribe or follow me on Twitch. The link to my Twitch channel, along with links to my other social media accounts, can be found in the description. If there's a challenge run you'd like to see, you can also check out the description for a direct link where you can submit your ideas. Thanks again for watching, everyone. See you in the next video.
Sure was nice of the princess to invite us for a picnic, gay Luigi?
I can't wait to bomb some dodongos. Squadala, we are off!